I was supposed to do a support guide this week, but something so good came up that I absolutely must cover it right now. Oh, and since everybody keeps asking, yes, my game is in Spanish. Deal with it. I'm currently learning the language not because I really need it right now. I might have last year, but not so much now. Mostly because it amuses me and it's entertaining to do so. That reminds me, if any of you are South American and have a mostly Spanish TeamSpeak, which a group uses regularly, let me know because I do need to practice my speaking. There are benign bugs and there are malign bugs. I'm pretty sure this one falls into the former category. To be honest, I think it adds to the game. I think it makes the game more fun. It doesn't detract from it. It doesn't ruin anyone's experience, and it doesn't give anyone a distinct advantage. Some bugs are inherently destructive, and they'll grant distinct advantages and disadvantages to players depending on which one is using them. For example, the invisible walls, the one-way walls rather, on Operation Locker, wherein you could shoot out of them, but no one could shoot back at you. They were kind of useful. They were very good in Conquest if you were on the US side, not so much if you were on the Russian side. But either way, one could definitely say that that was a destructive bug. I only covered it because I wanted to make sure that everyone knew how to counter it. The other one that occurred early on in Battlefield 4 was the QBU-88 sound glitch. Basically, if you fired a suppressed QBU-88 on a server, it would literally mute everyone on the entire server. That was hilariously destructive. I'm not going to say that I didn't use it ever at any point, but Battlefield 4 launch was a broken mess anyway, so that wasn't too big of a deal. Similarly, there was a God mode glitch at the launch of Battlefield 4, and another separate one was introduced late into the game's life cycle. Neither of these were readily exploited, and they were patched before they got any real traction, unlike Battlefield 3's M26 mass glitch, where it inherited the damage model of whatever weapon you placed it on, and that was undoubtedly destructive. It basically broke the game for as long as it existed, and everyone hated it. Now, other bugs simply changed the game in some way without really detracting from it. I think this one is pretty benign, as it doesn't really lessen the skill overhead required to play the game, and it doesn't give an artificial advantage to any of the players that use it. So a friend of mine sent me a video, and the video is by IND Gamers, of course. They have been covering bugs and glitches in Battlefield for several years now. This is probably the most hilariously unique and interesting bug I've ever seen in Battlefield. It existed in Battlefield 4 too, but I wasn't aware of it. Basically what it lets you do is that you can assemble a hybrid class consisting of several amalgamated kits. And it's possible, in theory, to assemble a kit from 3 separate classes. It's virtually impossible to do so, and would require you to set up a mouse macro very, very well and precisely. So if you want to play support and you want your LMG but you want medkits, well, that's perfectly fine. You can have medkits and ammo. If you want recon and you want medkits, you can totally have medkits and your flare gun. Or if you want to use the assault weapons and you want the support gadgets, well, you can just bring over the support gadgets into the assault class. So here's how you do it. You end up having to click on the class you want to grant gadgets to at the same time you click deploy, as shown here. It's not as simple as it looks, though. It is very difficult to consistently replicate, and it takes a lot of practice to do it reliably. The window between pressing deploy and switching to the kit you want to grant extra gadgets to is under 5 milliseconds. This is not a long time. Now, when I give you this guide on how to do it, I'm assuming you've got a PC. Now, you can do it the same way on console, but you're going to have different buttons, and I don't know your control setup, so you'll have to figure it out on your own. So, in case you didn't know, there's several ways to deploy. You can either use space or click the deploy button with your mouse. Now, we sort of need your mouse to click the kit button, so you're going to use space to deploy. And basically what you want to do is you want to click on your kit and press space at the same time. You have a very small window of opportunity to do so. However, the priority should always be the spacebar first. You want to have already been deploying when you switch kits. This works because you actually change kits while in the deploy process, and for whatever reason, this allows the game to provide you with 2 at the same time. Now, in terms of setting it up properly, your empty slots should correspond to the gadgets that you want merged. For example, if you want both the med pack and the ammo pack, your med pack should be in slot 3 and the ammo in slot 4. Or you can have the ammo in slot 3 and the meds in slot 4. Whatever. Now, the first class that you select is the one that is going to donate its gadget. The second class you select, that is to say the one that you select after you deploy, is the one that grants the primary and secondary weapons. Now here are a couple things I've encountered while attempting to get this to work. If you end up deployed and you only have the weapon from the first class, that is to say, the class that you intend to donate gadgets from, then you switched classes too late, or you deployed too early. That is to say, there was too great of a delay between pressing spacebar and clicking the mouse. You need to click the mouse more quickly after you press spacebar. Now, on the other hand, if you only have the weapon from the second class, that is to say, the class that you meant to give the gadgets to, then you switched the classes too early. That is to say, you clicked the mouse before you pressed spacebar. You need to make sure that you press spacebar before the mouse. And again, you have to do them pretty much at the same time, but you should prioritize the spacebar. Now note that you can donate your sidearm as well. For example, if you wanted to use the Gasser M1870, which has a great 2-hit kill range to the medic class, you want to go to a knife-only server, empty out your medic class's secondary slot, and then let Assault become the donor class as usual. Since medic no longer has anything in the secondary weapon slot, the Assault's Gasser will override it, and you'll get your Model 8 of choice, and you'll get the revolver of choice as well. Now this is just one of these bugs that is just plain fun. You still need the requisite skill to use everything. It doesn't provide any sort of technical advantage whatsoever, but it just lets you condense the roles of 2 players into one. A hybrid medic support class is always going to be worse than 2 players, one playing support and the other medic. However, if you're really frustrated by incompetent teammates who can't figure out how to heal or resupply or kill tanks, then this glitch makes solo play incredibly fun. There are a couple of kits I found really entertaining. The most amusing so far has been support with K-bullets. You know how K-bullets are such a pain because you run out of them so fast? Well, when you're a support player, you can just keep tossing down ammo to resupply yourself. If you've got a close range MG, then you can just switch to your single shot sniper to pick off a camping recon. Oh, and if you're curious, the K-bullet weapon model always matches the model of the primary weapon from your scout donor class. Probably the most effective anti-infantry kit I've played has been the support class with medpacks. With the ability to both resupply and heal, you've got incredible sustain, and the support weapons are really good in close quarters. For Conquest, combining Assault and Medic is great. Every time I play Medic, I find myself in the perfect situation to use a rocket gun, and I don't have it. Well, with this system, you can heal yourself and use your favorite weapon, which I hope is the Model 8, and kill armor too. As for the flag-clearing anti-infantry option, combining an SMG or a shotgun with the flare gun absolutely demolishes capture zones. It's like playing Recon in Battlefield 4, where you could use the Pokeballs and your ACR, or whatever carbine you wanted. If you find a particularly amusing or cool combination that you like to play, let me know. The sniper shield and bipoded support gun seems to have potential, and the spotting scope might be useful for a more aggressive class like medic. Now there's a bug related to this on Fog of War. Again, I was sent a separate video showing how to replicate this. This is definitely a malign bug, and it's an obvious exploit, and it kind of breaks the game mode. The next time you see someone actively abusing it, you know how to counter it, and that can relieve some of the frustration. This one is pretty obvious and very game-breaking, so I do expect a patch soon. Though I hope the prior one, the one that lets you select hybrid kits, is never patched at all because it's hilarious. It's simple enough to perform. You just have to make one of your kits, the one that you don't plan on using, into one that is usable in Fog of War. That is to say, nothing but a sidearm and a knife. I'm just going to take off here the grenade and my primary weapon. Medic is the class I don't want to play, so that's what I'm using here. Then you click the class that you want to play, while at the same time using the deploy button with space or return. This may take you a few tries to get it, but you'll get there eventually, much like with the other bug. And you'll find that you'll enter a Fog of War server and you'll have all the weapons that you could possibly want. The reason this works is that the game only checks for the validity of a spawn once right after you press deploy. After that, it doesn't care. This is actually why we see so many spawns on dead bodies. You can spawn on someone who is alive, and the fly-in animation will play, and then you'll spawn on a point that is no longer valid. But the game doesn't care because it totally was valid when you click deploy. There's a similar thing going on here. You can actually switch kits while in the middle of deploying. So you deploy, the game thinks it's valid, and then you switch kits. And you arrive at an invalid spawn point or with an invalid kit. DICE, you should fix the latter one. You should totally leave the other one alone because it's incredibly fun.